First off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire.
Okay, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee speaking about Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday. Burchett also called Harris a, quote, DEI vice president in a social media post earlier in the day. What a nice guy. That's so classy. Joining us now, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison. Jamie, I'll let you handle that one. Your response to that.
Well, Mika, this is the guy who wanted to legalize eating roadkill. So, you know, we're not going to really pay much attention to what Mr. Burchett has to say. I mean, he's a part of a circus that we see in the Republican conference on Capitol Hill, the least productive Congress in the history of this country. I think Herbert Hoover, the Congress in Herbert Hoover, during the period of Herbert Hoover, is the only Congress that was probably a bigger failure than this one. And so, as we love to say in the South, bless his heart.
Bless his heart. The Republican reaction to Kamala Harris has been pretty, depending on what, you look at in terms of right-wing TV, but also Republican leaders, it's been pretty rude. It seems to me that's a sign of something. Do you agree with that?
I think they're a bit nervous. Listen, for somebody who they said was not going to excite the party, someone who's raised over $100 million, who's gotten tens of thousands of volunteers to sign up, she's demonstrating that she has momentum, she has energy on her side, and I think they're scared about that. The contrast is an important one. As she said yesterday, she's the nominee. She's going to prosecute the case, and she has one hell of a case to prosecute against Donald Trump.
So you just said she's the nominee. Is it safe to say she will be the nominee?
Well, we still have to go through our formalized process, Mika, which will kickstart tomorrow when the Rules Committee meets, and then we'll have a period in which anybody who wants to run can get nomination signatures, and then by August 1st, we will start the voting process. But we will have all of this wrapped up by August 7th. But I have to say, the vice president is well on her way to securing this nomination based off of the reports that I'm getting. Unanimous support coming out of some huge state parties from my home state in South Carolina, but also in Texas, California, Florida. And so, the momentum is building for her.
Yeah, there was some criticism, I think, from the Speaker of the House, especially that this was somehow unlawful. The process is not transparent. It's not a fair process. Is there anything unlawful about the process that the Democrats are going through right now to pick a nominee?
No, Mika. Listen, in essence, we have rules for situations in like the one that we're in now, and we are utilizing those rules, which basically puts this nomination process in the hands of the delegates that were selected, based off of the elections that happened over the course of the last few months. And so, what I would suggest to the Speaker is focus on actually getting something done. Don't worry about our stuff. We got it.
Okay. Now can we talk about the timing and the process of choosing her running mate? What have you heard about it? There are a couple of names, people that are already being put through somewhat of a vetting process. Any sense of the timing on that?
Well, we have built this system in terms of the nomination process so that our nominee of the party has some opportunity in order to go through a vetting process for their VPs. But in order to be on the ballot in all 50 states, we have to have all of this wrapped up by August 7th. And so if the nominee so chooses, we should likely, if we're going to be on all 50 state ballots, we will likely have our VP nominee also by August 7th.
So, Mr. Chairman, you just noted this really accelerated timetable right here. So obviously that is requiring the lion's share of the attention. But I was wondering if a moment we could just reflect on President Biden and whether you think what has played out was fair to him.
Well, listen, as you all know, I adore President Biden. I believe that he is the most transformational president of my lifetime when we think about all of the things we've been able to do and accomplish and how it has benefited this country. But once again, Joe Biden shows not only that he's good and honest and decent, but he also shows that he's selfless. And in his greatest act of showing that, he has decided that, you know, I'm going to bring this party together. I'm going to inject some more energy into this party so that we can defeat Donald Trump. And so I salute the president, and I am so grateful for him. You know, as a black man, I think about Joe Biden, and you think about he stood up as the lieutenant for the first black president of the United States. He picked the first black woman to be vice president of the United States, and he has now set the glide path in which we may see the first African-American, Asian-American president, woman president of the United States. So that's Joe Biden.
So, Jamie, given what you just said about President Biden and given what he has done, given his legislative accomplishments and his career, his long career in American politics, what do you have planned to honor President Biden at the convention?
Well, you know, we are in the works and talking about that right now, but we are going to show the president. We're going to give him his flowers to thank him for his long-term commitment to this party, but most importantly to this nation. Again, Joe Biden's a good man. He's a decent man. He was one hell of a president, and I am just honored to know him, but also to call him a friend. And so we are going to make sure that we celebrate Joe Biden in Chicago.
So obviously, Jamie, the sort of rollout, if I will, or the announcement of Kamala Harris being endorsed by Joe Biden is off to a tremendous start with record-breaking fundraising numbers and a pretty good reaction across the board. I would say the Republicans' extreme negative reaction is a sign of something. But now how to keep the momentum going. What do you think the challenges are that she faces ahead? And what if someone else steps up and wants to run against her?
Well, listen, I think she's really galvanized the party. The energy, Mika, I'm seeing is really, I haven't seen anything since, you know, the early stages of Barack Obama in 2008. There was just recently 2 calls where we had over 100,000 black men and black women who got on these calls, and they raised over $3 million. Again, unprecedented. We've never seen this type of thing. That was more people on those 2 calls than the people there in Milwaukee for Donald Trump's convention. And that's just to show you the type of energy that we are seeing coming on the side. And we're bringing new donors into the party, people who are excited about the prospects, of the possibility of Kamala Harris being president of the United States. And so with the selection, if she gets the nomination and she selects her VP, again, that will be more energy. And we will be, as a party, focused like a laser on Donald Trump, Project 2025, and the extremism that we're seeing from the Republican Party.
Chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, thank you very much for coming on this morning. Appreciate it.